I never thought I'd wake up screaming in someone else's skin, but there I was, staring into a mirror that lied straight to my face, my sister's face, all sharp cheekbones and vacant blue eyes that weren't mine. The pink paint on my bedroom walls back home still haunted me, that childish taunt from my so-called family, the final twist of the knife after they pinned their dirty secrets on me and left me to rot in a cell for 3 years. But revenge? Oh, it tastes like stolen whiskey and rust because I'd swapped our souls in the dead of night, and now, wearing her body like a too-tight prom dress, I was going to burn their empire to the ground, one whispered lie at a time. They say blood runs thicker than water, but mine had curdled into something venomous the day my brother, Harlan, walked free while I got the cuffs. It was supposed to be a simple family business, Dad's real estate firm flipping foreclosed homes in the Rust Belt sprawl of Detroit. Harlan cooked the books, siphoned off millions from the pension funds of laid-off auto workers, widows who'd bet their nests on our honest deals. But when the feds came knocking, it was my signature on the falsified docs, my social security number tied to the offshore accounts. Collateral. Dad called it over the phone from his yacht in the Keys, his voice smooth as aged bourbon. You take the hit, Fiona, and we'll make it right. Family first. Family first. What a crock. I was 25, fresh out of community college with dreams of flipping houses legit, not laundering grief. They fed me to the wolves, and I swallowed every betrayal like communion wine. Prison was a gray blur of fluorescent hums and the stink of institutional bleach. 3 years at Women's Huron Valley, where the guards leered and the nights stretched like taffy. I learned to read people there, to spot the twitch in a jaw before a shank came out, to trade cigarettes for whispers that could topple cliques. But mostly, I planned. Harlan threw parties in my absence. Dad expanded the firm into luxury condos for tech bros fleeing Silicon Valley's burnout. And Mom? She hosted book clubs, sipping Chardonnay while gossiping about poor Fiona's mistake. The pink paint came 6 months before my release, a welcome home, prank from Harlan and his cronies, my bedroom, my one sacred space in that McMansion tomb, vandalized while I was still inside. They broke in with a spare key, splattered Pepto-Bismol walls top to bottom, hung streamers like it was a damn baby shower. Photos hit Instagram. Sis comes home, pink power. Hashtag my ass. It was humiliation porn. A viral fuck you to remind the world I was the joke, the felon daughter who'd learned her lesson. I got out on a rainy Tuesday in April, the kind of Michigan downpour that soaks your soul. Parole officer dropped me at a halfway house in Hamtramck, a sagging Victorian split into cells for the reformed. No family limo waiting, just a bus pass and a duffel of prison-issue clothes. I walked the 5 miles to the old house anyway, the one Dad kept as a rental now, though I knew it sat empty. The door was unlocked, because why not? Thieves stealing from thieves. Up the stairs, heart pounding like a bass drop at a DT Energy Music Theater show, and there it was, my room, a cotton candy nightmare. The paint flaked under my fingertips, still tacky in places, the air thick with the chemical reek of fresh betrayal. I sat on the bare mattress, stripped, of course, and wept, not for the walls, but for the girl who'd trusted them. That's when the idea slithered in, black and oily as Lake St. Clair after an oil spill. I'd heard whispers in the yard about Dr. Elias Crow, a disgraced neuroscientist holed up in a basement lab off 8 Mile Road. Ex-MIT, booted for unethical experiments involving neural mapping and some black-budget DARPA crap. Body swaps, they called it, soul transference via electromagnetic pulses and designer psychedelics. Sounded like sci-fi bullshit, the kind peddled on late-night podcasts by grifters hawking nootropics. But in prison, truth and tall tales blurred. One lifer swore she'd seen Crow pull it off on a John in a Reno motel, trading places for a night of kinky revenge. Cost? 50 grand, wired anonymously, plus a vial of your blood and a lock of hair from the target. I had none of that, no money, no access. But I had rage, the kind that forges keys from spoons. Hustling came natural post bars. I waitressed at a dive bar in Greektown, slinging Connies and Werners to divorcees, nursing grudges. Nights, I trolled dark web forums on the house's ancient desktop, posing as a mark for low-level scams to build cred. By July, I'd skimmed enough. Petty theft from Harlan's credit cards, cloned via a skimmer I'd jury-rigged from Radio Shack parts, to hit 5 figures. Dad's firm was bleeding clients anyway. Whispers of the scandal lingered like exhaust fumes. I reached out to Crow through encrypted Tor chats, his replies curt. Proof of intent required.
Naughty funds.
I sent photos of the pink room, the court docs with my name in bold, a voice memo of Harlan laughing on a leaked voicemail. Fiona's our get-out-of-jail-free card. Drink up.
Crow bit.
Meet at a derelict warehouse off Joseph Compound. Midnight on the 13th. The place reeked of motor oil and regret, chain link rattling in the wind off the Detroit River. Crow was a scarecrow in a lab coat, 60-something, wild Einstein hair, eyes like polished obsidian. Revenge is a mirror, he muttered, pricking my vein with a syringe that burned like battery acid. It shows you what you've become. We waited for Harlan, lured with a fake tip on a distressed property, his greed the perfect bait. He rolled up in his lifted F-150, all swagger and cologne, none the wiser until the hood went over his head. Crow worked fast, electrodes on temples, for drips of glowing blue serum, a machine humming like a MRI on steroids. Harlan thrashed, muffled curses turning to gurgles. Then, the pull of vacuum in my chest, like my heart was being yanked through a straw. The world inverted, colors bled, sounds warped into echoes. I blacked out to the scent of ozone and Harlan's sweat. When I came to, it was in his body, broad shoulders straining the hoodie, stubble itching his jaw, a dick swinging heavy between my legs like an unwelcome pendulum. Across the room, my old form slumped in a folding chair, Harlan's soul puppeteering it now, eyes fluttering open in confusion. What the fuck, he croaked in my voice, high and girlish. Crow smirked, packing his gear. 24 hours max before neural fatigue sets in. Swap back or risk permadamage. Choose wisely. He vanished into the night, leaving us like swapped chess pieces on a blood-stained board. Harlan lunged, but I was bigger now, stronger, pinned him easy, his hands, around my own throat. Feel that, brother? That's the weight of your sins. Welcome to my world. I zip-tied him to a beam, gagged with his own bandana, and drove home, in his truck, the McMansion glowing like a false promise under sodium lamps. The family was gathered in the den, Dad nursing scotch, Mom fluttering with small talk about the Junior League gala, Harlan's wife Becca scrolling TikTok on the couch. They looked up as Harlan, stomped in, mud tracking across Mom's Persian rug. Rough night. Dad chuckled, not looking up from his Bloomberg terminal. I grunted, voice gravelly and unfamiliar, and headed upstairs. In my room, pink as a fever dream, I stripped, staring at the alien reflection, 6'2" of gym rat muscle, tattoos snaking up arms I'd never inked. It was power, raw and intoxicating, like slipping into armor forged from hate. That first night, I probed the edges of Harlan's life like a tongue testing a sore tooth. His phone buzzed with alerts, texts from mistresses, voicemails from shady lenders, emails from Dad's accountant juggling more falsified ledgers. The secret he'd buried? Deeper than the pension scam. Harlan hadn't just cooked books. He torched a rival developer's warehouse 2 years back, insurance fraud to cover his coke habit, but the blaze killed a night watchman, old Mr. Kowalski, who'd waved at me on my jogs. Harlan pinned the arson on a ghost crew, but the accelerant traces led back to our garage. Dad covered it, naturally, paid off cops, buried evidence in concrete pores.
And me?
They used the embezzlement rap to discredit any unstable accusations I'd make post-release. I was the fall guy twice over, my freedom the price for their pyre. Adrenaline surged, hot and electric. I rifled Harlan's closet, donning a suit that hung like confidence, and descended for family dinner, roast chicken and Merlot, Mom's ritual. You look tense, son, Dad said, carving meat with surgical precision. His eyes, steel gray like mine used to be, flicked over me. Suspicious? No, just paternal bullshit. Market's volatile. That Polish strip mall deal's on ice. I nodded, forking peas, the fork trembling in my grip. Becca prattled about her yoga retreat, oblivious. Mom asked about Fiona. Had I heard from the poor dear? I forced a laugh, Harlan's baritone booming. Sis is probably shacked up with some Paroli, painting the town pink. They chuckled. I seethed. Under the table, I texted from his phone. An anonymous tip to the cold case unit, coordinates to the warehouse ashes, with a photo of Harlan's monogrammed lighter pulled from his drawer. Sleep evaded me in Harlan's king bed, sheets silk smooth against skin that itched with wrongness. Dawn broke gray, and I slipped out early, driving to the halfway house in Hamtramck. There, in the basement laundry, Harlan and my body waited, feral and frantic, wrists raw from bonds I'd left looser than I'd admit. "Fiona, you bitch! Give it back," he hissed, lunging. I sidestepped, slamming him, me, against the dryer. Up close, my old face was a stranger's mask, freckles I'd hated now twisted in rage. "Not yet," I whispered, injecting the reversal serum Crow had slipped me. Half dose, enough to blur the lines but not swap fully. He convulsed, eyes rolling, mumbling fragments. "Dad made me." The fire. Kowalski saw too much. Confirmation. I left him curled fetal, a ghost in my shell, and returned to the mansion before brunch. The days blurred into a high-wire act. As Harlan, I attended board meetings at the firm, glass towers downtown, views of the Ambassador Bridge mocking borderless greed. Dad's empire, Vanguard Properties, rebranded post-scandal as ethical urban renewal. I sat silent, nodding to pitches on gentrifying Corktown, evicting families like the ones I'd grown up dodging. But I listened, mapped the web, shell companies in the Caymans, bribes to city council in brown envelopes. One lunch, at Slow's barbecue, Dad leaned in over burn ends. "We need you sharp, Harlan. Fiona's ghost is haunting the books, clients sniffing around the old case."
Ghost. Me.
I smiled, sauce staining my tie. "Let me handle it," I said, voice steady. That afternoon, I emailed the SEC from a burner. Attachments of scanned ledgers, Harlan's digital fingerprints all over. Becca noticed first the changes.
You're
"Different," she murmured that night, straddling me in bed, her hands exploring like territory. I froze, body betraying with reflexes not mine, but I played along, whispering Harlan's pet names from his phone history. It was violation wrapped in silk, her lips on skin that screamed wrong, but knowledge was the real thrust. Her drawer held Polaroids of affairs, leverage for later. Post-coitus, as she snored, I crept to Dad's study, safe cracked with a stethoscope trick from Prison Lit. Inside, the real secret, a USB drive labeled F contingency. Files on me, psych evals faked to paint me unstable, therapy notes forged to suggest I was prone to delusion. And the fire. Video from a hidden cam, Harlan dousing shelves in gasoline, Dad's voice off screen. "Do it quick, son. Insurance covers the rest." My hands shook, downloading it all to the cloud. By week's end, cracks spiderwebbed. Cops showed at the firm. Routine inquiry on the tip, they said, but Dad's face blanched like bad milk. Harlan and me burst in that evening, disheveled from the house, ranting in the foyer. "Harlan's lost it. He's talking crazy. Says he's me." The family stared, Mom clutching pearls. I stepped forward, Harlan's bulkish shield. "Sis, you need help. That time inside fried your wires." Dad pulled me aside, Scotch breath hot. "What the hell's going on?" I met his eyes, unflinching. "Karma, old man. Kowalski's widow sends her regards." His fist connected, solid, paternal love, and I tasted copper but didn't swing back. Not yet. The swap's toll crept in. Migraines like ice picks, phantom itches where seams pulled. Crow texted warnings. Neural drift accelerating. Revert or vegetate. But I pushed, dosing micro-hits to sustain. Sunday dinner escalated. Mom's lasagna cooling as Harlem spilled fragments. The swap. The warehouse, me pulling strings. They laughed it off as paranoia, but doubt seeded. Becca cornered me after. "Is she right?" You've been distant like you're someone else. I kissed her forehead, Harlan's habit, and slipped a sedative in her wine. While she dozed, I painted, yes, painted. In Harlan's room, broad strokes of black latex over his minimalist grays, a void swallowing light. Tit for tat, brother. Pink was your joke. Darkness is mine. Monday, the feds escalated, subpoenas raining like confetti at a funeral. Dad called an emergency huddle in the den, faces taut as drumskins. Someone's leaking, he growled, eyes on me. I shrugged, feigning Harlan's nonchalance. Maybe it's the ghost. Harlan me hovered at the edges, medicated now on Dad's orders, mumbling about stolen skin. Mom prayed rosaries, Becca packed a bag. That night, alone in the garage, I confronted the real Harlan, dragged from the halfway under pretense of sisterly concern. He was unraveling, my body gaunt, eyes hollow. End this, he begged. I'll confess. The fire, the books. Just give me back.
Tempting.
But revenge isn't mercy. It's mirror. I injected the full reversal, the pole reversing in a vortex of nausea. We swapped mid-scream, souls slamming home like puzzle pieces forced. Back in my skin, frail and foreign after the muscle, I staggered to the pink room. Now mine again, a womb of humiliation. Harlan, in his, retched on the carpet. You think it's over? He wheezed.
No.
Dawn broke, and I walked into the kitchen where Dad brewed coffee. Mom scrolled headlines. Vanguard Properties under federal probe. His empire cracking. I poured a mug, black as pitch. Morning, family. Who's up for truth or dare? The climax brewed slow, a storm front rolling off Lake Huron. Dad lawyered up, holing in the study with calls to DC fixers. Old money strings pulled taut. Harlan spiraled, popping Xanax like tic-tacs, shadows under his eyes like bruises. Becca filed for separation, citing irreconcilable weirdness. Mom baked pies obsessively, apple and cherry crumbling under knives.
Me?
I played the dutiful daughter, attending therapy sessions Dad mandated. Really reconnaissance, the shrink of firm retainers spilling on Dad's panic attacks. But the controversial calls mounted. First, I seduced Harlan's bookie, a tattooed gorilla named Vic from the Cass corridor, using Becca's lingerie and a promise of inside dope. In his walk-up, amid pizza boxes and brass knuckles, I whispered Vanguard's vulnerabilities, fake deeds, laundered lots. He bit, eyes gleaming, and I walked out with a recorded confession, his prints on my thigh like a signature. Second decision, the leak to Kowalski's widow. I tracked her to a bungalow in Grosse Pointe Park, widow's weeds and all, rocking on a porch swing with a tabby named Smokey. Your husband didn't die random, I said, handing the USB. She wept, not rage but resolve, called a PI, the kind who digs graves with words. Her suit hit the papers. Wrongful death, Vanguard named. Dad's stock tanked 20%, clients fleeing like rats from the Renaissance Center. The third, darkest, confronting Mom. Not the harpy, but the enabler. Her diaries, pilfered from the attic, revealed the root rot. She'd known about the fire, even suggested the accelerant from Dad's workshop. For the family, scrawled in loopy script. I waited till midnight mass, slipping into the pew behind her at St. Aloysius, the cathedral's stained glass bleeding crimson. Bless me, Mother, for I have sinned. I murmured. She stiffened, turning, guilt cracking her Botox mask. Fiona? What are you? I pressed the diary page to her palm. Confess, or I do it for you. She crumbled in the confessional, sobbing Hail Marys. But the priest? Bought, of course. No absolution, just echoes. Harlan snapped midweek, cornering me in the pink room. Ironic, him raging in my old prison. You did this. The swaps, the tips. You're destroying us. He swung wild, fist grazing my cheek. I didn't dodge. Let it land, blood welling like vindication. Feel familiar? I spat, wiping my lip. That's how it felt in the yard, taking your licks. He deflated, sliding down the wall, pink mocking us both. Dad said it was necessary. The firm. It was sinking. You were expendable. Expendable. The word ignited. I zip-tied him again, poetic, his wrists in mine, and drove to Crow's lab, the good doctor waiting with fresh serum. Double swap? He queried, scalpel glinting.
No.
This time, permanence. Harlan screams as we traded again, but I laced the drip with fentanyl. Overdose masked as neural shock. My body went limp, eyes glazing. Crow pocketed the fee, vanishing. I buried Fiona in a shallow grave off Gresham, wildflowers covering the lie. Back home, the feds raided at dawn, SWAT boots thundering, Dad in cuffs reciting Miranda like scripture. Mom catatonic on the divan, Becca long gone to her lover's condo. I stood in the pink room, watching from the window, a ghost in Harlan's flesh once more. No, post-swap, I was me, but scarred, the serum's echo lingering like tinnitus. Dad's glare as they dragged him. Betrayal. Pure. You, he mouthed. I nodded, lips curling. Family first. But the twist, the gut punch reversal, came in interrogation footage, leaked to me by a crooked, fat-eyed greased. Dad's confession spilled not just the scams, but the inception. The body swap tech?
His.
Funded through Vanguard slush, Crow firm contractor testing on volunteers, homeless vets, junkies, even a rival exec who vanished mid-deal. Harlan wasn't the arsonist. Dad was, Harlan covering to protect the legacy. And me, not collateral. I discovered the lab logs as an intern, confronted Dad, naive, fiery. He swapped me with a comatose Jane Doe for the trial photos, planting my signature via proxy. The pink paint? A signal, Harlan's code to activate a failsafe, neural blockers to erase my memories post-release. But prison forged me unbreakable. The truth inverted. I wasn't the victim. I was the spark, the one who'd lit the fuse years ago, only to be snuffed. Dad's empire built on stolen souls, literally. Charges mounted. Murder, fraud, human experimentation. Mom OD'd on Valium. Accidental. Harlan? I visited him in county, my brother reduced to whispers. You win, he croaked. Did I? The firm dissolved, assets seized, but the pink lingered in my rented studio, a reminder, not taunt. Ending? Debatable. Some call it justice, a felon's poetic purge. Others, tragedy, a daughter dismantling her blood for ghosts.
Me?
I drive Harlan's truck now, windows down on I-75, wind whipping like freedom. Revenge legendary? Hell yes. But mirrors crack, and what's left stares back fractured. Maybe that's the real swap. The trial was a circus, Detroit style. Media trucks idling outside the Frank Murphy Hall of Justice like hungry wolves, reporters in ill-fitting suits barking questions at anyone with a pulse. I testified as Fiona Harlan, the prodigal daughter turned whistleblower, my voice steady under the fluorescent glare, recounting the ledgers, the fire, the swaps with clinical detachment. Jurors leaned in, faces a mix of Midwestern stoicism and morbid fascination, blue-collar folks from Warren and Dearborn, the kind who'd lost nests to Dad's flips. Objection, Your Honor, speculation. Dad's shark, a silver-haired fossil from Bloomfield Hills, thundered, but the judge, a no-nonsense black woman from the east side, overruled with a gavel crack that echoed like gunfire. Inside, it was theater. Dad in orange, cuffed but composed, his eyes locking on mine across the well. Not rage, but calculation, like I was a bad quarter he'd flip. Harlan sat beside, shrunk to a husk, his testimony a mumble of pleas. I followed orders. Family. The prosecutor, a fireplug named Ramirez with a mustache like a 70s cop show, paced, projecting the video. Dad's silhouette in the warehouse, match flaring. Gasps rippled. A juror crossed herself. My cross-exam? Brutal. Ms. Harlan. The shark purred. You claim body swaps? Sounds like delusion, perhaps inherited from your incarceration. I met his gaze, unflinching. Delusion? Ask the Jane Doe they buried as me. Or the vet's Crow tested on. Check the VA records. The courtroom hushed, Ramirez slid in the lab logs, stamped Vanguard confidential. Dad's jaw ticked. Checkmate. But controversy brewed outside. Pundits on Fox 2 debated vigilante justice or vengeful psychosis. Protests clogged Woodward Avenue. Blue lives versus corporate accountability, signs clashing like bumpers. Lock up the landlords versus fake news fraud. I dodged them in a borrowed Prius, hood up, heading to Crow's new hole-up, a trailer in Inkster, aluminum siding peeling like scabs. He answered shirtless, beer guts spilling, paranoia in his twitch. You fucked it, girl. Fed sniffing my tail. I pressed a wad of Harlan's cash, severance from the asset freeze, into his palm. One more job. Permanent for me. His laugh barked. You're already half gone, synapses firing wrong.
Zwop solo?
You'll fry. I leaned in, voice low. Do it, or your DARPA files hit WikiLeaks. He relented, prepping the rig. Helmet humming, vials iridescent. The procedure was agony amplified. Electrodes biting scalp, serum scorching veins like Drano. No donor this time, just remapping, anchoring my soul to this battered frame. Visions flashed. Childhood Christmases, Dad's hand heavy on my shoulder. Harlan's first scam, me catching him, silenced with a slap. Then snap, consciousness solidified, the itch gone. I peeled off the helmet, flexing fingers that felt mine. Finally. Crow slumped, OD'd on his own stash, mercy or cleanup. Didn't matter. I torched the trailer on my way out, flames licking propane tanks, a bloom orange against the night. Post-trial. Acquittals for me, whistleblower immunity, Ramirez's doing. Dad got life without, Harlan 20 to life on accessory. The pink room? Demolished with the house, raised for a community garden, Kowalski's widow's project, roses where betrayal bloomed. I moved to Ferndale, a walk up above a vintage shop, slinging coffee at a spot called Roasting Plant, steam hissing like old grudges. Nights I wrote. Memoirs, maybe, or manifestos, tapping keys till dawn, the city's pulse thrumming through floorboards. But peace? Elusive as a clean conscience. Becca reached out, 6 months post, coffee at a cafe patio, her belly swelling with Harlan's kid. I knew something was off, she said, stirring oat milk. But you, in his skin? Legendary, Fiona. Twisted, but. Her eyes softened. Pity? Admiration? The baby, boy or girl, doesn't matter. Needs an aunt. I nodded, throat tight, but inside, the calculus spun. Raise the spawn of betrayal or ghost. Controversial choice, the kind that splits dinner tables. I sent checks anonymously, watched from afar as she thrived, a single mom flipping mini mansions legit. The real haunt? Dreams of the swap. Waking in Harlan's body midnight, pulse racing, convinced it stuck. Therapy helped, a queer doc in Royal Oak prescribing microdoses and mindfulness apps. Revenge rewires, she said, voice calm as Lake Huron calm. You're not them, but was I? Vanguard's ghost lingered, class actions piling, my name in suits as key witness, royalties trickling to a trust for displaced tenants. Power unasked. One fall evening, leaves crunching underfoot on Belle Isle, I met Ramirez for beers. Perks of victory laps. Your old man's appealing, he grunted, foam on his lip. Claims you orchestrated the leaks via body double. Jury ate the sci-fi, but appeals court. I laughed, bitter as IPA. Let him. Truth's the twist, he made me the monster. We toasted to that, the bridge lights winking like conspirators. Walking home, phone buzzed. Anonymous text, photo of a fresh-painted room. Pink. A kid's bedroom in Becca's new place. Auntie Fiona. Heart clench, legacy or cycle. Winter hit hard, snow blanketing the sprawl like amnesia. I volunteered at the garden, hands in soil, planting bulbs with Kowalski's widow, Elena, steel-haired Polish firebrand. Revenge good, she said one dusk, trowel pausing, but living better. Her words stuck, a thorn in the dark. I dated, a barista with tattoos and trust issues, nights tangled in flannel, but mornings brought distance, my secrets a wall. You're intense, he said, packing. Intense. Understatement. Spring thawed secrets too. A package arrived. FedEx, no return. Dad's effects from storage, a letter scrawled in his precise hand. Fiona, you think you won? The swaps were for you. That Jane Doe? Your mother, pre-cancer. I saved her in your body. Let her fade gentle. Harlan knew. The pink was code. Trigger your recall, and the loop. But you broke it. Blood or not, you're us. Enclosed, a locket, Moms, with my baby photo inside. Innocent, unscarred. Twist inverted again. Salvation masked as sin? Dad's experiments, a desperate bid to cheat death. Me the vessel for Mom's last days. The fire? Collateral for funding. Betrayal, yes, but paternal, warped love. Rage curdled to grief, tears salting the floorboards. I drove to the prison. Visitor's booth glass smudged. Dad aged to leather. Believe me, he rasped, receiver greasy. I nodded, throat ash. Why not tell? His laugh cracked. Family secrets bind. You were stronger, had to be. Forgiveness?
No.
But understanding. The debatable end, where villainy blurs to humanity. Summer scorched and I sold the story, Netflix option, swapped vengeance, buzz building. Controversy flared. Is it empowerment or exploitation? Protests at premieres, me dodging paparazzi in Oak Park. Becca's boy arrived, chubby-cheeked, eyes like Harlan's, mine now in a way. I held him at baptism, lace and holy water, whispering, don't paint rooms pink, kid. Laughter rippled. Aunt Fiona the legend. But legends scar. In quiet, the pink haunts, a color not of weakness but warning. I rebuilt, flipping houses clean, affordable units in Banglatown, murals where walls once lied. Elena joined, her hands gnarled but sure. Cycle broken? She asked, hammering nails. Maybe. Or just paused. The response? Legendary, they say. Whispers and bars, headlines fading to myth. But me? I wake whole, skin mine, soul forged in fire. Revenge ends, living indoors. And that's the real hook. 2 years post-fallout, the city's pulse had shifted, Detroit rebounding on green tech grants and artsy lofts, but scars lingered like potholes after repave. I ran a small crew now, Fiona Flips, specializing in eco-renos for low-income blocks in Delray. Morning started with blueprints over black coffee at Delectable, sawdust in my nails by noon. The crew, ex-cons mostly, tats and testimonies, called me Boss Fi, respect earned in equal parts sweat and straight talk. No shortcuts. I'd bark, echoing Dad's old mantra twisted pure. Evenings, the apartment hummed with takeout from Xochimilco, rom-coms on Hulu to drown the echo of trials. But ghosts don't ghost easy. Becca's texts ramped up, playdates for little Harlan Jr., HJ. Her code for normalcy. He asks for auntie. She'd type, emojis masking the ask. I caved weekends, pushing swings at Palmer Park, his giggles a balm on old wounds. Tell me about Daddy's truck. He'd lisp, climbing my lap. I'd spin yarns. Big red beast. Roared like a lion, but Annie tamed it. Truth layered in fable, the swap a bedtime monster under the bed. Becca watched wary. You're good with him, Fi. But that intensity scares me sometimes.
Fair.
My edges honed sharp. Crow's shadow surfaced in a cold case podcast, Motor City Mysteries, episode on vanished docs, his trailer fire ruled arson, whispers of corporate hits. Listeners speculated. Vanguard revenge?
Emailed tips anonymously, bearing deeper.
But paranoia crept. Tires slashed outside a site in southwest Detroit. Traitor keyed in pink chalk. Coincidence? Or Dad's old allies? Ex-board vultures circling. Eye up security. Pepper spray in the glove box. A .38 registered clean from a pawn in Highland Park. The controversial pivot hit Labor Day weekend. A job in Rosedale Park, gutting a colonial for a co-op of single moms. Lead carpenter, Tito, tall Dominican with a fade and felony hack, found the Heidi, false wall in the master, stacks of yellow docs tied with twine. Boss, jackpot or jinx, he grinned, fanning bills, crisp hundreds pre-2000 cereals. Counterfeit? No, Vanguard slush, stashed pre-raid, laundered through the flip. My gut nodded. Call the feds. Or flip it myself. Ethical me screamed report. Vengeful whispered invest. Fund the co-op outright. Stick it to the man on his own dime. I chose gray. Laundered through crypto. Anonymous donation. The moms wept at closing, keys in hands like talismans. Tito clapped my back. Legend move, fi. But sleep evaded, the pink chalk haunting dreams. Elena pulled me into her orbit more. Weekly suppers at her bungalow, pierogi and kapusta steaming, smoky purring on my lap. You carry too much, she'd say, refilling my plate, her widow's wisdom blunt as a maul. One night, vodka loosening tongues, she confessed. Kowalski, my Jan, knew your dad from Union days. Warned me once, Vanguard eats souls. Ignored it for the mortgage. Her eyes, faded blue, pinned mine. You ate back. Good. But then the hook, a box from storage, Jan's effects, a Vanguard hard hat, inside a memo on Crow, dated pre-fire. Project Echo, neural relocation for asset protection. Dad's sigil. Jan had been a test subject, swapped briefly with a rival. Memories wiped, but fragments lingered. Felt like drowning in someone else's hate. Elena's hand trembled. He came home wrong after. The fire took him gentle. Revelations stacked like cordwood. Dad's empire not just greed, but godplay. Swaps to steal intel, eliminate threats, even relocate exec egos into compliant shells. Me, the intern who'd stumbled on logs? First full victim. Body loaned to mom's decline, mind fractured. The pink, Harlan's botched trigger, meant to jolt recall but sparking my rage instead. Elena hugged me, fierce. Bury it, child. Or it buries you. I burned the memo in her sink, flames dancing like synapses. Fall deepened, leaves turning blood orange, and HJ's third birthday loomed. A backyard bash at Becca's new ranch in Farmington Hills, balloons bobbing like buoys. I arrived early, gift in tow, a toy truck, red as Harlan's, no roar but zoom. Kids swarmed, cake smeared on chins, but Becca pulled me aside, deck umbrella shading her strain. Read this, she hissed, thrusting a printout. Dad's appeal brief, filed pro bono by a shadow fund. Claims. Daughter's actions induced by experimental psychotropics, rendering testimony coerced. Attached, psych eval on me. Forged? No, Crow's notes, detailing the swaps as therapeutic intervention. My blood chilled. He's flipping it. You as the madwoman, him the savior. Rage reignited, hot as arc welders. I stormed the appeals hearing uninvited, Wayne County Circuit, gallery packed with gawkers. Dad on vidlink from Jackson, gaunt but gleaming. Fiona's brilliant but broken. The swaps, metaphors for family therapy gone awry. Lies slick as Crisco. I stood, voice cutting the hush. Metaphors don't bury bodies, Mr. Harlan. Chaos, bailiff hauling, reporters flashing, Ramirez in the hall. Dumbass move, fi. But ballsy. The judge sealed it, but leaks hit drudge. Heiress alleges sci-fi cover-up in billion-dollar fraud. Controversy exploded. TikToks of pink rooms as memes, swap scandal trending. That night, alone with bourbon in the apartment, the decision loomed. Expose full, or let rot. Full meant dragging Elena's Jan into light. HJ under spotlights. Rot meant Dad's parole shot. I chose fire. Hacked the Shadow Fund server. Tito's cousin, a white hat in and arbor, dumping files. More swaps, CEOs in comas, vanished whistleblowers. Dawn broke to headlines. Vanguard's sole trade. Human horror behind the high-rises. Dad's appeal tanked, life sentence etched. But the cost? Becca cut contact. HJ's photos vanishing from feeds. Protecting him, she texted final. Elena faded too, health failing. Heart murmur from grief's weight. I visited her hospice, sterile beep of monitors, her hand cold in mine. You did right, she whispered, eyes distant. Jan's proud. She slipped that night, peaceful. I scattered her ashes at the garden, roses nodding like mourners. Winter gripped again, snow muffling the rebuild. Fiona flips boomed, grants for green rehabs, TEDx talk on from Fall Guy to Flip Queen. Applause thundered in Ferndale's Art Center, lights hot on my face. Q&A turned tense. Was revenge worth the family fracture? A kid in the front, earnest.
I pozad, mic feedback warning.
Revenge mends nothing. But truth? It builds foundations.
Cheesy?
Maybe. True. Spring brought thaw, and twists echo. A letter from prison. Dad's hand shaky. You were always the strongest. Mom's last words in your body. Tell Fiona I love her wild heart. Forgive. Enclosed. The locket again, chain mended. I wore it under my tool belt, silver warm against skin. Forgiveness debatable. Therapy doc says it's process, not event. I visited once, booth glass cleaner now. Wild heart, I echoed. He smiled, fractured. Like mine. Summer hummed, HJ turning 4 unseen, Becca's walls high. I flipped a pink Victorian in Indian village, walls stripped to bone, repainted sage, calm, claiming. A crew toasted at rap. To legends. I clinked, but inside, the swap scar etched a reminder. Bodies change, but souls scar. The response lingers, legendary in whispers. But me? I'm building one brick at a time. Pink's just color now. Hate? That's the real ghost. By year 3, the sprawl felt less cage, more canvas. Detroit's reinvention mirroring mine, potholes patched with smart asphalt, factories reborn as brew pubs. Fiona flips scaled, satellite office in Corktown, crew at 20, mission etched on vans. Reclaim. Restore. Rise. Mornings, I jogged the Riverwalk, Dequindre cut trail blooming with murals, street art screaming where silence once ruled. Tito ran sites now, his laugh booming over hammers. We split profits 60-40, trust thicker than blood. But blood called insidious. HJ's school pics leaked via a tabloid hack. Ex-con anti-Zaire. Becca's fortress cracked. She rang late one night, voice frayed. They're hounding us. Paparazzi at soccer practice. He asks why Auntie's famous. Guilt nod, sharp as rebar. Let me help, security or move.
Pause heavy. No. But.
Visit. For him. Neutral ground. Detroit Zoo, lions pacing under October sun. HJ tugged my hand, gap-toothed grin. Auntie, you fix houses? Fix mine. Daddy's go scares. Heart punch.
Harlan's shadow. Or mine.
I knelt eye level. Ghosts fade with stories. Want one? He nodded, wide-eyed. Over ice cream at the Tundra exhibit, I wove a tale. Brave Andy swaps with a sneaky fox, tricks the wolf pack, paints their den polka dot. He giggled, pink cones melting. Becca watched softening. You're good, Fi. Flawed, but. We hugged awkward, truce tentative. The appeals dragged, Dad's legal zombies filing motions like clockwork. New evidence. Neural tampering. Bullshit psyops, funded by phantom packs. Ramirez tipped me. Trace to Cayman shells, Vanguard remnants. I dove in, nights on dark web with Tito's cousin, unearthing the web, X-board plotting a redemption fund, swaps revived under biotech guise. Controversial call. Infiltrate. I posed as investor at a clandestine mixer in Birmingham's Baldwin Inn, sequins and scotch, whispers of next-gen therapy. Mark, Victor Lang, Dad's old VP, paunchy predator in a Brioni suit. Heard you're flipping ethical, he slurred, hand on my elbow. I played coy, luring to the lot, chloroform rag from a prop shop, zip ties tight. In his McLaren's trunk, I drove to an abandoned plant off Fort Street, Crow's ghost rig salvaged from ashes. Interrogation under sodium lamps, electrodes humming, truth serum variant crowed brood, loosens tongues, not souls. Victor babbled. Your dad.
Visionary.
Swaps save companies, hostile takeovers via proxy mines. Names dropped, senators, CEOs in cryosleep, bodies bartered like NFTs. The pink, a trigger code, etched in Dad's patents, neural cue for loyalty implants. My rage, engineered glitch. You were meant to lead, Victor gasped, foam flecking lips, but broke the chain. I recorded it all, uploaded to Ramirez pre-dawn. Victor? Left bound for feds, a gift-wrapped loose end. Fallout rippled. Indictments cascading, pact dissolved, Dad's appeals crushed under conspiracy weight. Media frenzy renewed, CNN panels debating, ethics of mind theft, ethicists clucking. I dodged with a press ban, focusing on the flip, a high-rise co-op in Midtown, solar panels gleaming. Groundbreaking streamed live, Elena's roses transplanted to the plaza, her legacy, thorns and all. But the personal twist coiled tighter. Therapy unearthed fragments, post-swap echoes, Mom's voice in dreams. Wild heart, run free. Doc diagnosed dissociative echoes, prescribed EMDR sessions in a Royal Oak loft, eye movements chasing phantoms. Progress? HJ sleepovers now, fort building with couch cushions, his snores sinking mine. Becca dated, a teacher, steady. He's good, she confided over wine at Slows. But HJ needs your stories. I nodded, the locket warm, forgiveness thawing, debatable as ever. Winter whispered warnings, a break-in at the office, files rifled but nothing taken. Pink spray on the door. Monster. Harlan's crew? Or mine? Guilt's graffiti? I installed cams, carried the .38 more. Tito joked. Boss turning cowboy? But eyes serious. One blizzard night, stakeout in the van, shadowy figure in balaclava, jimmying locks. I tailed to a dive in Mexican town, La Feria, confronting in the alley. Becca's ex, Harlan's drinking buddy, eyes wild. You ruined him, and the kid. He lunged, knife glinting snow. Controversial. I fired, knee shot, siren wail chasing. Cops hauled him, confession spilling. Hired by Victor's holdouts, grudge personal, his pension torched in the scam. Spring bloomed bloody. HJ's preschool play. Me in the audience, locket tucked. He hammed as a fox. Tricking the wolf. Laughter swelled. Becca squeezed my hand post-curtain. But post-party, the call. Dad's health crash, pancreatic, stage 4. Wants you. Chaplain rasped. Prison visit, sterile as hospice. Him hooked to IVs, skin jaundiced. Fiona. Weak, but eyes sharp. The truth, all of it. He confessed. Mom's cancer terminal, swapped to give her your youth for months more. The fire? To fund a cure trial, botched. Me taking fall? To shield Harlan, the weak link. But you, Rose. Tears tracked his cheeks. Forgive. Debatable end. I held his hand, locket shared. Wild hearts beat on. He faded 2 weeks later, obit buried in Free Press business section. Summer scorched scandals. Victor flipped. Full testimony tanking biotech fronts. My TEDx follow-up. Swapped lives. From victim to architect. Standing ovation, but Q&A pierced. Did killing your family metaphorically free you?
Pause.
Freed some. Haunted others. Book deal followed, ghostwriter in tow. Pink vengeance, raw as rebar. HJ's 5th bash, pool party in Farmington, splashes and sunscreen, me grilling dogs. Becca's man, Mark, clapped my shoulder. Heard the stories. Respect. Truce to alliance? Maybe. Nightcap on the deck, stars pricking black. You staying, Fi? Becca asked, wine glass tilting. For good. I glanced at HJ asleep inside. Fox plush clutched. Building roots. No more swaps. Fall anchored. The co-op ribbon cut. Tenants moving in. Murals of wild hearts. Tito proposed partnership. I signed, ink dry as resolve. Elena's garden thrived. Volunteers weeding where weeds choked. One dusk, kneeling in dirt, a bloom unfurled. Pink rose, defiant. I snipped it, pressed in the book. Reminder, not chain. The legendary? Fades to footnote, but me, Fiona, whole, flips forward. Bodies heal. Souls evolve. Pink's power now, painted by choice. Year 4 dawned electric. Detroit's auto show buzz electrifying the air, electric vehicles gleaming like promises in Kobo ghosts. Fiona Flips franchise tentative, satellite in Pontiac, mantra spreading, reclaim narratives, not just homes. Mornings I mentored at the halfway house, Tuesdays with the women, blueprints over bad coffee, mapping escapes from cycles. You did time? A newbie asked, ink fresh tat on her wrist. I nodded. Did. Then made it pay. Eyes lit, seeds sown. HJ integrated seamless, sleepovers weekly, his chatter filling silences. Auntie, swap me with a dinosaur. Laughter therapy, Becca's walls down, Mark folding into family barbecues. You're the glue, he said once, flipping burgers at Island View Park.
Glue?
Scar tissue, maybe stronger for the tear. But the locket swung heavy post-dad's passing, mom's echo in its curve. Wild hearts forgive, or forget. Therapy doc pushed. Write the letter, unsent. I did, pages spilling rage to release, burned in the garden under full moon, ashes to roses. Controversy circled back sly, a docu-series pitch from HBO. Soul Traders, the Harlan Legacy. Producers wooed over dim sum in Chinatown. Your story, raw, redemptive. Tempting payday, platform for the swapped unseen, vets, migrants, lost in corpse shadows. But the hook? Dramatized swaps, actors in my skin. No, I flat refused. Truth or nothing. They balked, I walked, but leaked the pitch, sparked a podcast wave, survivors surfacing. A union rep relocated to silence, mind fractured. Ramirez led the task force, nods at our coffee meets. Your ripples, fi. Justice title. The darkest decision brewed spring, a vanguard holdout, Elena's old neighbor, Mrs. Nowak. Widow twice over, Jan's cousin by marriage. She cornered me at the garden, hands wringing apron. Near dad. The swaps. Took my boy. Promised promotion, woke in a shell, suicided after. Eyes hollow. Confront the last, Lang's wife, the enabler. Victor's widow, Holden Grosse Pointe Shores, yacht club queen. Controversial. Mercy or mirror. I chose confrontation. Unannounced tea at her waterfront manse, porcelain rattling as I laid photos, her hubby's confessions, her check stubs to Crow. You knew, I said, voice steel. She blanched, Chanel pearls clutching. Family protects. Echo. But then crack. Victor. Begged to stop. For you saw your fire in the files. Said you deserve truth. She slid a drive, final logs, dad's suicide note digitized. Fiona, the wild one, breaks the curse. Love always. Twist reversed final. Not villainy pure, but hubris lace love. Dad swaps a mad bid for immortality, family as lab rats in his god complex. Mom's extension?
Real.
My fall? To forge Phoenix. Grief washed, salty as St. Clair shores. I left the drive, no charges, her donation to the Co-op Anonymous. Penance quiet. Summer sizzled with scale, franchise launch, ribbon in Pontiac with mayor's speech. Fiona Harlan, from ashes to anchors. Flashbulbs popped, HJ waved from the crowd, Fox hat cocked. Post-party, Becca pulled me for a drive. Woodward cruise, windows down, Motown blasting. Mark proposed, she beamed.
And
HJ wants you at the wedding. As family. Tears pricked, I nodded, words lost. Wedding autumn in Cranbrook Gardens, leaves gold, me in sage suit, locket gleaming, toasting. To wild hearts, tamed together. Winter wrapped gentle, first snow at the Midtown Co-op, tenants stringing lights. I dated serious. Alex, architect from the show, shared sketches over faux in Hamtramck. You're intense, he said, not fear, but draw. Nights blurred to mornings, his hand tracing scars. Legendary, fi. But human. Human, the debatable crown. Spring cycled full. Garden bloom, pink roses rampant. Elena's gift, thorns trimmed. HJ's kindergarten play, mi centero. Heart swell as he foxed again. Trick or treat the wolves right.
Encore Bekawi Spring, Pointy.
Tito's wedding followed. Barrett horns honking down Jefferson. Me dancing Gubra, sweat and joy. The book dropped summer. Pink Vengeance. Swapped and unbroken. Bestseller quiet. Whispers in book clubs. Empowerment or excess. Signings in Livonia libraries, hands shaken. You gave me courage. One vet, eyes haunted. Your story freed my memories. Ripples eternal. Fall anchored legacy. Co-op expansion. Harlan houses, ironic nod. Affordable arcs citywide. Ramirez retired bash. To the flip queen. Toasts clinked. Stories swapped. Justices camaraderie. Winter's end. Year 5 dawning. I stood Riverwalk. Locket cold against wind. The response? Legendary etched. But legend lives in the living. Flips finished. Families forged. Ghosts gardened to ground. Pink. Power claimed. Revenge? Refined to redemption. Wild heart? Still beats, fierce, free, forever American. And that's the story. Hook, twist, and all. Debatable? Damn right.
But mine.